Hyundai is a name most Americans know well, but its impact in the US goes far beyond selling cars. The company has invested billions in massive factories, especially in the South, becoming an economic engine for entire communities. Nowhere was this more evident than in Georgia, where Hyundai launched its most ambitious project, a multi-billion-dollar hub for electric vehicles and batteries. The main plant, a $7.6 billion investment, was already producing EVs, symbolizing a clean energy future built on international cooperation. Local leaders saw it as a ticket to stability and high-paying jobs. The crown jewel was the Hyundai LG battery plant in Elabel, part of a $12.6 billion investment, the largest in Georgia's history. This project promised not just jobs, but new schools, better roads, and hope for a thriving future. The partnership between Hyundai and Georgia was hailed as a model for how foreign investment could benefit American workers. The construction site in Elabel bustled with activity, a symbol of progress and international alliance. No one could have predicted that this symbol of cooperation would soon become the center of a major international incident. The events of September 2025 would shake the foundations of this carefully built relationship. On September 4, 2025, the Hyundai LG battery plant in Elabel, Georgia, was humming with activity, until a fleet of federal and immigration agents swarmed the site. It was the largest single-site enforcement action in Homeland Security investigations history. Work stopped instantly as agents rounded up 475 workers. Most were not local laborers, but highly skilled specialists, engineers and technicians, many from South Korea, brought in for their expertise. Among those arrested, 317 South Koreans, 10 Chinese, 3 Japanese, 1 Indonesian, and about 175 workers from Latin America. The site was paralyzed, its future uncertain. Authorities cited alleged unlawful employment practices and lack of proper legal authorization. For the South Korean workers, it was a nightmare. Many believed they were on legitimate assignments for respected companies. Instead of installing high-tech machinery, they found themselves in handcuffs, caught in a major law enforcement operation. The arrested workers were processed and sent to detention centers, with South Koreans separated at facilities like Folkestone Ice Processing Center. News of the raid sent shockwaves from Elabel to Washington and Seoul. The largest economic project in Georgia's history was now a crime scene. The promise of prosperity had turned into a crisis with far-reaching consequences. U.S. authorities claimed all 475 workers at the Hyundai LG plant were in the country illegally, justifying the massive raid. But the story quickly unraveled. The core controversy, the legal status of the South Korean engineers and technicians. These were not undocumented laborers, but skilled professionals sent for a high-tech project, many on what they believed were valid visas. A leaked ICE document revealed at least one detained worker had a valid B1/B2 visa and had not violated its terms. Despite this, he was pressured to accept voluntary departure, sparking outrage among legal experts. Immigration attorneys called it unlawful imprisonment, and suspicions grew that legally present individuals were swept up to inflate the operation's numbers. The incident exposed a gray area in U.S. immigration law. Foreign specialists often travel on business visas for short-term projects, but the line between oversight and hands-on work is blurry. For the South Korean workers, this ambiguity had life-altering consequences. They were caught in a confusing, unforgiving system, pressured to leave regardless of their actual legal standing. What began as a labor issue now threatened to become a civil rights scandal. The controversy highlighted the risks foreign companies face when navigating America's complex visa system. The fallout would soon reach the highest levels of government. News of the raid shocked and angered South Korea. Images of shackled engineers from a flagship company led away by U.S. agents dominated headlines, fueling a sense of national humiliation and betrayal. The timing was especially bad. Just weeks earlier, President Lee Jae-myung had reaffirmed South Korea's commitment to U.S. investments at the White House. President Lee called the incident bewildering and demanded the immediate, dignified return of the workers. The government launched a formal investigation into their treatment and pressed the U.S. for answers. The incident also sparked calls for reforming America's visa system to protect foreign investors. The fallout threatened ongoing trade negotiations, with public outrage pressuring South Korea to take a harder line. The message was clear: respect our citizens, or risk losing our investment and cooperation. The raid had ignited a diplomatic firestorm, jeopardizing a crucial alliance. The crisis quickly reached the highest levels in Washington. With South Korea furious, the US faced the challenge of enforcing immigration laws without damaging a vital alliance. President Trump took a personal interest, recognizing the stakes for both jobs and foreign policy. South Korean Foreign Minister Cho Hyun flew to Washington for urgent talks with Secretary of State Marco Rubio, demanding the workers' immediate release. As South Korea arranged a charter flight home, President Trump delayed its departure, considering whether the skilled workers should stay to finish the plant. This unexpected intervention created intense uncertainty. Ultimately, negotiations succeeded. The U.S. agreed to repatriate the workers. In a gesture to smooth relations, Trump ordered the South Koreans transported to the airport without handcuffs, a break from standard ICE procedure. The State Department issued a formal statement expressing deep regret, aiming to mend fences with its ally. The diplomatic crisis had been diffused, but the damage lingered. After a week of fear and uncertainty, the path was cleared for the South Korean workers to return home. Most agreed to voluntary departure, avoiding formal deportation but risking future travel to the U.S. Of the 317 arrested, all but one chose to leave. The lone holdout had family in America and decided to fight his case. On September 11, 2025, the workers were transported to Atlanta's airport without shackles. A small gesture of dignity. Their return to South Korea was met with relief and lingering anger. Families were reunited, but the ordeal became a cautionary tale about the risks of working abroad, even for major corporations. The incident cast a shadow over Hyundai's global expansion and U.S.-Korea relations. The fallout for foreign investment in America was just beginning. With its workers home, Hyundai faced a monumental decision. Should it continue its American expansion or reconsider its strategy? The raid exposed risks the company hadn't anticipated, shaking its faith in the stability of the U.S. business environment. The American market remains lucrative and Hyundai's factories are deeply integrated into local economies. Walking away would mean abandoning huge investments and ceding ground to competitors. But the incident raised fears of unpredictable government action and trade tensions. President Lee warned that such risks could make South Korean companies hesitant to invest in the U.S. Hyundai's dilemma became a symbol for all international companies. Is America still a safe place to invest? The company's next move would send a powerful signal to the global business community. The future of America's role as a destination for global investment was suddenly in question. If Hyundai scales back or exits its U.S. operations, the consequences would be devastating for American workers and communities. Thousands of jobs in Georgia and Alabama would vanish, triggering a ripple effect across the supply chain. Local economies built around Hyundai's plants could face collapse, with property values plunging and small businesses shuttering. Public services like schools and hospitals would suffer severe cuts. American car buyers would feel the impact too. Less competition means higher prices and fewer choices, especially for electric vehicles. The push for affordable EVs would stall, slowing America's transition to cleaner transportation. Beyond economics, a Hyundai exit would damage America's reputation as a reliable place for global business. The message: the U.S. is an unstable partner, where legal and political risks can emerge overnight. Other foreign companies would think twice before investing. The raid in Georgia and Hyundai's response is a stark reminder: economic partnerships are built on trust. When that trust is broken, the consequences ripple far beyond one company or community. The future of American industry and its global standing hangs in the balance.